Okay. Hey, everybody. I'm Jason. It's 2010, so I'm going to tell you about 10%. 10 is one of those numbers that kind of has a special place, along with the number 3, the number 5. We think about top 10 lists, top 10% of our class. So I'm going to talk to you about 4 ideas related to the theme of 10%. And we're going to start 150 years ago, where this guy was fighting a war very much like the war we're fighting today. How? He's up against a tough insurgency that won't give up. There's a lot of people calling for troop withdrawal, and he's trying to figure out a way to end this war. The elections are coming, the 1864 elections. So he comes up with something called the 10% plan. This is an olive branch. He's trying to extend a branch to get the war over with. It's open to any Confederate state that wants to rejoin the Union. He says only 10% of your citizens, just 10%, have got to sign an oath to get back into the Union. Only one state took him up on the whole offer, and that was Louisiana. And after all that, they went through the whole process and they got rejected by Congress anyway. So no one was readmitted under the 10% plan. Proves it's harder to stop a war than it is to start a war. Next, I want you to look at this one real closely. This is called the age productivity link. This has been studied by a number of different scientists, including a man named Satoshi Kanazawa. At the bottom here, I don't know if you can see it, but these are ages, and this is male ages only. This does not apply to women. But they plotted when people made their big discoveries. And what you can see is right around the early 30s is when everyone has their peak, not just scientists, but criminals, jazz musicians, Formula One drivers, all kinds of people have been studied, and this peak holds true. So your productivity peaks in your mid-30s if you're male, not if you're female. If you get married, look what happens to you then. You can hold the peak a little bit longer, but you still face the decline, okay? So marriage helps, but not all the way. So you might want to consider that if you're looking into that plan. Again, none of this applies to women. So if you want to know, at what age am I going to drop down to only 10% of my peak productivity? There it is. It's mathematically, you can figure that out. Another way of thinking about that is at that age, 58 for men, 85 for women, there's a 90% chance you've produced everything that you'll ever produce in your life. Okay, how about that? Let's talk about this myth. This is a myth, 10% of your brain. You've heard this one, right? You only use 10% of your brain. I'm going to try to disabuse you of that and give you a little bit of the origin, because I hope you never repeat that myth. It's a terrible, terrible myth. It has no scientific basis. There's no truth to it whatsoever. Use 100% of your brain. That myth was started by guys like this. The psychic entertainment industry figured that if they could make you think that there's 90% of your potential is untapped, they could sell the mystery of what they do. So Uri Geller said, I could bend spoons with the other 90% of my brain. I do a lot more with the 10% than that. But here's the basic facts on that. There's no scientific proof. There's no basis for it. But your brain will get old. And if you're not careful and you don't take care of it, you could get down to just 10% brain function one day. So you want to make sure you take care of your brain just like you do your body. And the way you do that is you work your brain out. Okay, you got to throw new stuff at it all the time. You got to stretch it. You got to make it confused and trick it. Expose it to challenging ideas and new viewpoints. And that's going to make your brain healthy and help you get the maximum life out of it. Hopefully, as long as you live, you'll have a functioning brain. This is my favorite question of all. Why do we work? Why do we get up in the morning? What makes us go? The Federal Reserve looked at it and figured out where people spend their money, and this is what they spend their money on, okay, Americans. 43% of it is bling, luxury. It's stuff that you don't need to get by, but it's just stuff that you want. There's a better way to do it, though, and that's what I'm here to promote tonight. You need to take right off the top of your income, do the math in your head. What do you make every year? Divide that by 10, you need to give that away. Right off the top, you need to get rid of it, okay? I'm going to tell you why you need to do that. It's not the typical argument, you're going to save the world, make everything better. But here's what happens to you if you don't do that. You're going to fill your life with stuff, okay? You're going to buy a bunch of crap that you don't need, and it's not going to make you happier, right? We all think it's going to make us happier. You chase after happiness in life. You don't chase after stuff, but you end up buying stuff, and the stuff doesn't help. It's like this stuff here. If all you do is eat this, unless you're Homer Simpson, you're going to end up real unhappy. And it wasn't until recently that we knew that there was a link between what you ate and your health. We didn't understand diet and nutrition led to health. Now we know we don't eat trans fats. We don't eat a lot of things. Same with money. If you just keep buying stuff, you're going to end up unhealthy. So if you take an intentional path to get 10% off the top, this is what you're going to get with that, okay? You're going to fund your priorities. We all have ideas about how to make the world a better place. You're going to put your money where your mouth is. You're going to be able to balance your spending so you're not wasting it all on stuff. And not only that, but our whole economy is not going to be based on consumption. It's going to discipline your id. You're going to have to dial yourself back a little bit. Your id is where your greed comes from. So if you don't want to end up being a greedy person, you want to intentionally discipline yourself to give away part. That way you don't end up greedy. And it allows you to be focused on your productivity. You can focus on your work and your hobby and know that you're taking care of people. So I recommend that you implement a 10% plan right away. Figure out what you make, divide it by 10, give that away every year. Make a list of organizations. I made a website called give.org to help me do that. You can use it also, but you don't have to. But 10% now beats 100% when you're dead, okay? You're going to give it all away. You can't take it with you. Guaranteed you're going to give it to somebody. So you might as well take charge of it while you're alive and give it away right now. Thanks a lot.